joining me on this webinar. Yoga teacher burnout, uninspired, feel like you don't fit into the yoga scene. So this is what we're going to be sharing and talking about today. And of course, if you're not feeling like you're completely burnt out, or if you do feel like you fit into the yoga scene, you're more than welcome here. I'm going to be sharing with you lots of information, tips, some secrets about how to stay thriving in a sustainable and long-term yoga career. One that fills you and fulfills you and satisfies you at a deep core level, and also allows you to provide the highest service to all of your students in the world as well. So let's just take a moment to settle in before we get into the call. At the end, I will be answering any questions that you have. So if you're here live, you can type in questions into the chat bar on your computer, and I'll answer those at the end. I'm going to be sharing with you throughout the call and at the very end, giving you some information about how you can get my entire Complete Yogi online program for free. So stay tuned for that. And then I've also got some more details that I'll share with you at the very end if you're wanting to go deeper and how you can really get supported and feel more integrated with this work if it really resonates with you and if you so choose to. You will need a pen and paper throughout this, so grab a pen and paper now and have that with you. I'm going to be getting you to do a little bit of work throughout the call, and then let's begin. So if you can, turn off anything, distractions, phones, anything at all that's going to cause you to go outside of yourself. Stay really focused for this short time together in your day. This is for you, and really allow this to be a time where you can be filled up and receive. So please take a moment to close your eyes. Find a position where your spine is tall and long but not rigid. Roll the shoulders back and down. Relax your jaw and your forehead. And as you close your eyes, notice where your attention is drawn. The moment you go from the external to the internal, what happens? What shifts occur for you? And where does your focus go? Does it go to something physical? Is there a thought process or pattern that you notice? Or are you aware of sensations, feelings? Consciously allow yourself to receive whatever wisdom, information, insights that you're needing in this moment, here, now, today. Whatever drew you to show up for this webinar. Knowing that that will be satisfied and fulfilled, but staying open to the form in which you receive. Staying open to what you need to hear or feel throughout this process together for your highest good. Now move your focus down into your heart, into Hridaya Kesh, the heart space. Visualize a jyoti, a candle flame or point of light right in the center of your heart. Visualize this light radiating out in all directions. See this light moving up into the shoulders, into the neck, into the crown, cascading down through the arms into the fingertips. See this light moving down through your entire torso, pelvis, legs, all the way to the tips of the toes. See your entire light body. See your entire being filled with light, the vibration of light. And begin to see this light moving out way beyond the body until you're surrounded in a sphere or an orb of healing, glowing light energy. Relax into this beautiful, warm, glowing light energy. And as you rest here, set an intention, a sankalpa for yourself. It could just be one word, what you would like to get out of our time together, how you would like the rest of your day, week, life to go. Just choose something that feels very real and poignant for you right now. And breathe the essence, not just the idea, the word, but breathe the vibrational stance or essence, the quality, how this feels in your cells, in your body, when you're living as though. So if your intention is for peace, begin to expand the peace that's already within you. If your intention is joy, expand the joy that is within you. And notice how it feels to be enveloped in this essence. And take 3 more deep breaths. Bringing your focus back to feeling the physical body. And slowly begin to externalize. You can open your eyes just a tad, letting the light in. And then opening the eyes even more. Okay. That feels better. So welcome. My name is Madhuri, and I'm really grateful for you spending the time with me today, even in this virtual manner. And I'd like to just take a moment to share a little bit about me in case you don't know me, so that you have some context as to why I'm speaking about what I'm speaking about and where I've come from and what I get really excited about. So my background has really carved out my pathway and continues to inform a lot of my choices. So if I go way back to my university days, I was dancing and studying contemporary dance at university. And through that time, I got injured and ended up studying yoga. This was before there was a yoga studio on every street corner, and it wasn't popular at that time at all. And especially for someone in their early 20s, it wasn't really cool at all to be doing that. But I felt really inspired by it. And right away on my yogic journey, I understood 2 things. I understood that my body was susceptible to breaking down and being injured, because that was the state that I was in. And that my body was constantly changing. And the thing that wasn't going to change its structure would be my mind, or was my mind. And I realized that my mind was going to be with me forever. And it was malleable, but also very rigid in certain ways, through conditioning, through family, society, culture, every way that we become conditioned. I began to see that there were edges and limitations to the way that I was thinking. So I ended up going to India and living in an ashram for 6 months and studying yoga there, and really getting a deep appreciation for, well, a lot of karma yoga, and understanding that yoga was so much more than the asana. And when I came back from that journey, it was a bit startling and jarring, because I felt like I'd been through such an experience that I didn't have anyone that I could relate to with that. to the depth of transformation that occurred in such a short period of time, started to make me feel a little bit unsure of, there was life before going to India and to living in the ashram, there was life after. So it really shook up my world. And not necessarily, it didn't feel like it was in a good way, but bigger picture, when I stepped back from it, it totally was exactly what needed to happen at that time. I kept going back to India, and one of my trips I got extremely sick, which led to my immune system being completely knocked out, and I was sick for over 7 years with this. Through that sickness, I didn't have any support from the medical system. They had no idea what was going on, so I had to figure it out on my own, and I began to study Ayurveda and began to incorporate the wisdom of Ayurveda into my life on a daily basis with the proper food program for my constitution, the herbs, the mindset, everything that makes up Ayurveda. I began to really live that, and I had no other option really. And slowly but surely it began to change me and change my health. And it wasn't a quick overnight fix, but it was the slow and steady, and it works. And I got really excited about that, and through my yoga teaching, wanted to also share about Ayurveda. So fast forward almost a decade later, and I'm super stoked to be merging the two, yoga and Ayurveda, and feel so passionately about, for yoga teachers in particular, that you guys have the tools of Ayurveda, not just for your students, but for your own life as well. Because otherwise, you're going to get burnt out. I almost hate to say it, but it's true. At some point along your career, and probably most careers, you're going to hit a wall. And whether that's physical, mental, emotional, psychological, energetic, you're going to hit a wall. And if you don't have the knowledge of Ayurveda, or if you haven't worked preventatively, you can be really caught off and knocked off center in such a way. So my hope is that through this wisdom, you're not going to have to go through a journey like mine where it takes years and years and years to recover, that you can really use simple practices to enhance your life and to become the best, strongest, most vibrant yoga teacher or human being, let's just say, that you can possibly be. So just recently this year, I've launched a new program called the Madhuri Method Ayurvedic Yoga Teacher Training. That was bringing my love of teaching yoga for over 15 years and teaching at a college level yoga teacher training program for the last 7, and bringing my practice as an Ayurvedic practitioner in a clinical setting, bringing these together to offer yoga teachers an opportunity to learn more about Ayurveda and begin to incorporate that into their classes. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end if you're interested in finding out how you can get on board with that. So today, I'm going to be taking you through how to avoid burnout, how to take care of yourself when you do get an injury, or when you do get sick, or when you're just feeling low and fatigued, how to get re-inspired and reconnected to your teaching, how to use the ancient Ayurvedic secrets to up-level your yoga practice and your teaching practice as well, and how Ayurveda can help you to heal yourself, for your students, and also for your pocketbook. Because let's face it, that's really important. As yoga teachers, we can pretend that money isn't important, and it's probably, if you're like me, it's not everything, and you recognize that, but you still have to pay rent or pay your mortgage, and it is a reality in this day and age in which we live. So we do have to take that into consideration as well. At the end, as I said, I'm going to be answering questions, so you can type them through the chat bar on the side throughout the webinar, and I'll answer those at the end. And to start off, I'd love for you to take your pen and paper and answer these questions. The first question is, write down how you currently feel about your health. So whether that's physical, mental, emotional, so whatever symptoms or injury or illness you may be having, whether it's mild or quite severe, how are you feeling about your health currently today? How does it feel to you? You don't need to overthink any of these questions, just whatever your first impulse is, you can write that down. So how do you currently feel about your health? The next question for you is to write down how you currently feel about your relationship to your sadhana. So do you have a daily practice? What is it, and how are you feeling about your daily practice? Or do you teach, but you don't have a daily practice? And maybe there's even some guilt around that, or some imposter syndrome surfacing for you of feeling like you're not necessarily walking your talk. So write down what your current relationship is to your sadhana. And then the last question is, write down how you currently feel about teaching. So are you making enough money? Are you enthusiastic about teaching? Are you feeling a little dried up or stale? And be honest here. It's okay if you're feeling like you're kind of in that lower dipped phase of your relationship to your teaching. There's always going to be an ebb and flow, and we're going to have times where we feel really good and connected to it, and we're going to have times where we don't. So where are you right now with your teaching? And then just set those aside. You can come back to those questions, and if you really want to dive deep and start journaling on them, that's great too. But just setting those aside for now, and I'll jump into the first content piece that I'd like to share with you. So why is Ayurveda essential to your own sadhana and to thrive as a yoga teacher? Some of you may have done a little bit of Ayurvedic study in your yoga teacher training. Maybe you had an hour intro. Maybe you had more than that, which is great. I know after teaching in a few different yoga teacher training programs, there's anything from that hour to, hours, but it's still a very small part of a 200 or 250 hour training. There's just not enough hours in our basic yoga teacher training program to take care of all of these content pieces. So you've probably heard about Ayurveda, maybe have done some of your own study, but I want to really impart why it's so important for you as a yoga teacher to get this wisdom. You cannot have Ayurveda you can't have yoga without Ayurveda. The two are two sides of the same coin, and you have to have both together to really have a long-term sustainable career, and also for your own healing, for your own health. And Ayurveda is simply living in rhythm with nature. And when we can understand that we are a microcosm of the macrocosm, and when we really understand the qualities of the 5 elements that make up our constitution or our dosha, then we know how that interacts and interchanges. We know what the alchemy is, if you will, with the things outside of ourselves, the food, the herbs, the climate, the surroundings, and how those are affecting us physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. So Ayurveda literally means life science, and it truly is that. How are we interacting with life? And how can we have more awareness around the subtleties, around how we are really nature, and how our cellular makeup is responding, changing, being affected moment to moment, day to day. So we must understand Ayurveda. And the more we understand and see through the eyes of Ayurveda, the more that we can make more conscious choices that really are going to support our health for the long term. What Ayurveda does really well is prevention. So if you're feeling like, I'm actually pretty healthy and pretty happy person and really stoked about my life as a yoga teacher, that's awesome. What we want to do is maintain that and even up-level that. You might even be able to reach and live in better stages of health than you ever thought possible. So even when you're feeling good, there is more range to feel even better, have more energy, feel more relaxed, feel more enthusiastic, and have a greater bandwidth of space, so that when injury or illness or a hard day comes, that we can bounce back a lot faster. So it's not that Ayurveda or yoga is going to prevent us from anything really, or be immune to anything. But what it does teach us is how we can come back to our center in a much easier and faster way. So over the long term throughout your life, you will have times where you get sick or injured, or perhaps even come up against a disease or an accident. It's just part of life. So how can we apply this? First of all, it's really important that you do understand your dosha. If you don't, you may be either teaching in a way that isn't really going to be supportive for you. So perhaps you're a high pitta, high fire type person, and you're teaching 16 Bikram's yoga classes a week. You might be able to do that for a short period of time without any ill effect, but over the long period of time, you may start to notice things break down a little bit, or notice things in your health be a little bit off. And I have a friend who went through this exact same thing years ago. She began to teach the hot yoga, and a few years into it, realized that with her constitution, it was not supporting her. It was actually making her sick. So we have to understand what the type of yoga is and how it's affecting us. So some hot yoga is good for some people. Some yin yoga is good for other people, but it's different for everyone. We need to know that for ourselves and also for our students, so we can direct them. If they're in a practice, in a class that is not going to be healing for them, in fact, it's going to be detrimental to their health and well-being, then as part of that ahimsa, as part of that nonviolence, we need to be proactive about having those conversations with our students, or seeing the bigger picture. And when we're not in that energy of lack or desperation, where we're clinging on or needing those students to come to our class to get our yoga teacher commission, then we can have a much more free and expansive way, a more fluid way of really guiding people into the best place for them. Ultimately, it's their own decision, of course. But when you have more of the wisdom and are in that stance of a teacher, then it is your responsibility to be very honest and to have the expertise that your students may be looking for and the insights that they may also need. So as I said, prevention is going to be #1 key and #1 tool in your toolbox as a yoga teacher. So what are you doing to work preventatively for your health? It's a really important question, because oftentimes we'll just carry on until we get sick, and then we realize, oh, it's pretty awful to feel sick. And then we get better, and then we go back to our old routine, but we're not necessarily implementing things. In Ayurveda, we call this dinacharya, or the daily routine or daily practice. Maybe a lot of you do because you are yoga teachers and you're clued in and conscious and aware. I'm going to share with you soon a few things that you can implement if you're not doing anything. If you're just sort of getting up and going through your day, what can you bring in that will be supportive to your health? Things that are tridoshic and great for everybody. So in Ayurveda, we look to the individual. So it is key that you're eating according to your constitution, according to the season and the climate in which you live. It's different for everybody. So currently there's this big raw food craze that goes on. And any kind of craze or new fad usually is just that. That's what I like about Ayurveda. It's been around for over 5,000 years and it works. Its principles are not just for specific people, or aren't for people just living in a certain area. You know, we look at Ayurveda as coming from India, but it doesn't have anything to do with having to buy in or understand Indian culture or Indian food. What it does have to do with is understanding the principles that Ayurveda utilizes, which are essentially the principles of living in rhythm with nature. And when we understand that, we can cook whatever style of food, understanding those principles, understanding the 6 tastes. So a lot of people often confuse it with thinking, oh, well, what do I have to do? Do I have to change my diet and eat curry all the time if I'm practicing Ayurveda? No, that's not it at all. That can be if that's a choice, but it doesn't have to be at all. So knowing what your constitution is, your prakruti we call it, is so essential. The dinacharya, the daily routine, again, what are you doing on a daily basis for your health? In yoga, we often will do our asana practice, maybe some pranayama practice, or maybe some meditation, which are all wonderful and can be forms of your dinacharya. But what else are you doing? How else are you being mindful in everything that you're taking in through the 5 senses and incorporating into your day? So the basis of all of the Hatha yoga is managing this physical container of the body. So we're essentially manipulating and expanding the prana within to raise our consciousness. So we have the container of the body, and this is what Ayurveda takes care of, is looking at the container. And then we have yoga to help us understand what is inside the container, meaning the consciousness, the prana, the energy. And these two married together are a complete system, are an actual holistic system of healing. But just yoga or just Ayurveda on their own don't fully bring us into the deepest understanding possible. That's why I love these two together. Okay, so the next point that I'd like to share with you is looking at, okay, avoiding burnout. Let's avoid burnout by incorporating some of the Ayurvedic practices. As I said, this is so important so that you have a through line and so that you don't fall into old habits, that you don't fall back into old patterns. And that is bound to happen, especially in the beginning stages when you're beginning to make changes. The old habits are like grooves that are very deep, and we'll get pulled back into those quite easily unless we have a very strong resolve. So it really is the daily, little steps that shift us either into the way of great health or in the opposite direction of dis-ease or symptoms or suffering. So don't think about changes as being big leaps, just 2 degrees, 2 degrees, 2 degrees. We just edge our way to great health so that we're not overwhelmed or that we don't have that sort of internal rebellion up against, oh my God, I have to make all of these changes. And then we might do that for a little while and then hit burnout and crash. And we don't want our Ayurveda practice or our yoga practice to be the source of overwhelm, of suffering. It's so ironic, and that happens a lot, and I see that a lot with clients in my clinical practice when they come for consultations with me, that often the root of what we were looking to empower us and to allow us with a sense of freedom ends up being the thing that keeps us trapped or keeps us stuck or even takes us out of balance. So here are a few things that you can do as part of a dinacharya, the daily routine, that are simple. They don't take a lot of time or money, so they're very easy. The first one to do, and I think this is the most important way to change our life, is living intentionally. So the first thought that you have in the morning is going to set the trajectory for your day. And the vibrational stance in which you move through your day is going to affect everything around you. So your attitude, your mindset, how you're feeling about yourself and about your life has an impact and can perpetuate either an upward momentum or a downward momentum. And I'm sure we've all experienced both of those downward spirals happening in our life and also those upward spirals where we feel like we're just in the flow and things are moving really in a positive and easy way. So setting your intention or your sankalpa. If you're not sure, you can start out with just the simplest, today is a great day. It sounds so funny, but honestly, if you start plugging that in my Ayurvedic yoga teacher training, I talk a lot about mindset and self-mastery, and I've been teaching them about the today is a great day. And now it almost becomes a joke, so we can sit and laugh about it and be like, today is a great day. But it's funny and it sounds fun. And when we really come into the day like that, we have a much greater opportunity to really believe it. And then every morning, as soon as we become conscious, setting that intention, planting whatever seed feels right for you. Maybe I'm filled with peace and love today in all I do. Whatever you want to expand more of in your life, choose that. But it's so important because we don't consciously wake up and say, I want to have a shitty day today. But so often we'll go through in that vibrational stance unconsciously. But when we can consciously choose, then we're going to see more of that. So number one, and probably the most important. And then the practice becomes not just doing that first thing in the morning, but it's that 2 degrees, right? Every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, every 3 seconds, however much we need to remind ourselves and to repattern the neural pathways in the brain, then we have to keep coming back to that. Maybe you set an alarm on your clock and it goes off once an hour where you take 10 deep breaths. Slow down and remind yourself of your intention for your day. It's a wonderful practice. Number 2 is scrape your tongue. Get a tongue scraper. The best investment, Ayurvedic investment you'll ever make. Get a tongue scraper. First thing in the morning before you drink anything down, go into the bathroom, scrape your tongue. You'll likely see some gunk, some coating on your tongue. This is ama, or toxins. So we don't want to wake up in the morning and just drink a drink and swallow those toxins down. We want to get up and scrape the tongue off. If you don't have a tongue scraper right now, you can get a metal spoon and just use the metal spoon to scrape down the tongue and rinse in between and scrape and rinse, and that will help to clear off the ama from the coating. And that also gets you more in touch with looking at your tongue day to day, seeing what is on the tongue, the lines, the shape, if there's dryness, if there's little marks, we call them scallops on the tongue as well. So many indicators. In the book, Your Irresistible Life, that I co-authored, at the very back, we have a tongue diagram where you can see how the tongue is laid out and how it's associated with all of the organs in our body. It's fascinating science within itself. So the third thing that you can do after you scrape your tongue is have some warm water. You can add a little bit of lemon to the water as well to help with cleansing the body, but having warm fluid, so before you go and grab a coffee or a tea, have some warm water to help flush the body out. We never want to drink cold water in Ayurveda as it puts out the digestive fire, but have some warm fluid first thing in the morning. So if you can do those 3 things, that's a great start on your pathway and on your deepening your dinacharya. And don't think, oh, well, that's so simple. It's all not in the knowing of these things, but really in the application. So not what do you know about yoga or Ayurveda, but what are you embodying about yoga or Ayurveda? That's the most important. So what do we do to take care of ourselves when we're injured, when we're sick, we're approaching burnout? As I said before, and unfortunately, it's bound to happen at some point, either minor incident or major incident. I believe that this is a time that we are being guided to slow down or stop, or a time that our body is communicating something to us. Our body is getting our attention because we've been going along in a way that may not be serving our highest good, that may not be really fueling us from a deep place. So it's a time to reassess. It's a time to take stock. It's a time to come into stillness. Maybe you like to journal or meditate, be in nature, yoga nidra practice, or just be in silence and being open to your inner guidance that is there when we take enough time to stop and to listen. Part of this is also having self-care practices in place and having a team of healers. Maybe it's one healer that you're connected to, an RMT, a bioenergy healer, a naturopath, an Ayurvedic practitioner, an acupuncturist, but that you have somebody that you can go to when you need support, or even working preventatively in that way. I have a client, he's been coming to me probably for about 6 years, fairly consistently for Abhyanga massage, which is Ayurvedic massage. And he is consistently the only client who I've ever had who, when he shows up in my office and I ask him how he's doing, he's great. He's almost always great. And I find it fascinating because he really gets that the preventative measure is what is allowing him to reach higher levels of health. So he's not waiting until he's broken or, oh, I need to go for an Ayurvedic massage. He's working, it's his self-care. And it helps to manage his very busy and stressful life as a very prolific business owner. And I just think that's amazing. And I don't see a lot of people like that. Often we'll wait till we're on the other side where we're broken or something's gone wrong to think, oh, now I need to go and see somebody. So it's a shift of mindset. It's a shift of understanding in how we take care of ourselves. The next point I want to talk about is how Ayurveda can really help us heal, which we've spoken about a little bit, for our students, and then also for our livelihood, for our pocketbooks. For ourselves, you are the teacher, and truly you are the example to your students. Now, it's a lot to ask for us to think as yoga teachers that we have to be perfect or that our health has to be perfect. That is not what I'm saying at all. we are the role model and we're also human. So to the best of our ability, when you go into a yoga class, are you hungover or stressed out or have not been taking care of yourself, whether not sleeping right, not eating right, not taking care of your mental or energetic sphere? All of that is super important as we move into that space of a teacher. And it starts to feel a little bit icky when we move into the space of the teacher and we have the yoga speak going on. It's almost like we put the yoga tape in and all the things we think we're supposed to say about breathing and peace and love. And if there's a discord, if that is not aligned with how we're living our life, even if we're saying all the right things, there's going to be a disconnect and the students will feel it. Either consciously or not, there will be something that will feel off. The most important thing is that we take care of ourselves, that we understand how to take care of ourselves, and that we make that a priority. And I can totally understand from teaching yoga full-time for the last 15 years that that can be very, very challenging when financially we don't have the resources to actually take care of ourselves in a way that we need to support us teaching 16 drop-in classes a week. This is where it gets a little difficult and ironic and kind of sad, actually, that in the yoga world, how it's been set up and created, it's not allowing teachers to be financially abundant, just in the structure and the pay structure of how things are, generally speaking. So we have to take care of ourselves first and foremost, and a lot of the Ayurvedic principles aren't going to cost anything more, and this is the beauty of it, that it can be simply about empowering yourself with the wisdom, lining it up that way, and it's not going to cost any more. You don't have to outsource unnecessarily. And I still believe, too, that you need external support at times, for sure. We all do, depending on what we're going through. So walking our talk is really important, not just for us, but as we're teaching and conveying, we want to be more than yoga instructors. It's about becoming a teacher and becoming a leader of health in how you show up for yourself and for your students. When you learn the concepts of Ayurveda, you can work preventatively. You can live in rhythm. You're going to know your Prakriti, which is your true nature. You're going to know your Vikruti, which is your current state, and how to bring balance to those things. You're going to know and see in your students where they're at and what yoga is appropriate for them. You're going to have a better understanding of how you're teaching your classes. So are you teaching a class at 8 p.m. at night that's like a vinyasa flow class, which you end up walking away feeling depleted, and you notice that your students walk away maybe feeling uplifted, but they can't sleep very well that night because they've just been through a whole rah-rah uplifting class and their nervous system is pretty engaged and pretty stoked, but it's not necessarily the appropriate timing to be in rhythm. So all of these details about how we're teaching and the way that we're teaching are really key for the bigger picture, for how your students are going to feel not just walking out of your class, but how that's going to move into their night, into their sleep, into the next day, how they feel when they wake up in the morning. You having great health, you being that example of health and joy and energy, this connects to the continuum. And this also connects to the abundance and the flow of energy that we can live in and exist in. A lot of us as yoga teachers have been somehow conditioned or bought into thinking that we shouldn't be making money from teaching yoga. I definitely bought into this belief years ago and had a yoga studio that didn't sustain itself because I didn't understand that, yes, it's about service and karma yoga, and it's about having a business. And so unfortunately, that yoga studio closed, and then I couldn't be of service and do what I was meant to do in that way. So we have to find a sustainable way. And as you know, yoga teaching is unfortunately very competitive and can even be cutthroat in this day and age. So how do we make more of a community and have more of a community mindset? How can we get out of feeling that there's competition and fear and protection of our classes or our students? How can we really be in a place of integrity and authenticity in what we do? I believe that part of it is finding what makes you unique, or knowing what makes you unique, and expressing that through all that you do. There's a lot of yoga going on right now. There's a lot of yoga teachers. There's a lot of different styles of yoga. So finding out for you, what is particular? What is your way in which you express? What is your strengths? How is it that you communicate with your students? And what are really your gifts in your yoga teaching and in the way that you interact with the students in your life and in the teachings in your class? What is it that makes you unique and special in your way? And what is it that is bringing students to your class? Why are they coming to your class? And if you're not sure, you can ask, find out what is it that they're really getting out of it? What do they love about spending time with you in your classes? What do they love about learning from you? What is it that makes you unique? So that depth of swadhyaya, that inner inquiry, is really important so that you are clear about that. And so that maybe you can even amplify that or give more of that instead of less, or holding back or thinking, oh, I need to act a certain way or be a certain way because I'm a yoga teacher. So when we bring all of that together, we have our great health, that we work preventatively. We've got our dinacharya, that we have our daily routine of things that are good for our healthcare. We have the sadhana, which brings in our asana, our pranayama, our meditation practice. We bring in the mindset piece of living intentionally. We bring in the piece of understanding the flow of energy through living in an abundant mindset, an abundance of offering, of generosity that we have in the universe. And then we know, we've done the self-inquiry to know what makes us unique, what makes us special, and what our offering is into the world. And when we can combine all of these pieces, then we're going to feel that the vibrancy is there, that there's less of us going in that downward momentum or that downward spiral into the burnout, into the injury, into the anxiety or overwhelm or depression or poverty. That can all be part of it. We're not immune just because we're yoga teachers, as you know, that we're still existing in this fabric of life and doing the best that we can. So I hope that you can take at least one of these concepts that I've been talking about today and apply it to your life and to your teaching. Maybe it's a refresher for you of just reminding you, hey, okay, yeah, get back into this. Get back into your sadhana. Know what's working, what's not working for you in your practice, in your life, in your teaching. What isn't satisfying you anymore? Is it the way in which you're teaching? Is it the location in which you're teaching? Are you teaching too many classes a week? Not enough classes a week? What is it? Maybe you want to be teaching one-on-one and not in such a big group setting. Or maybe you're teaching small classes and you'd rather be teaching larger classes. But finding out for you what it is right now, and it will change as time goes by, your relationship to yourself and your teaching, your style, the way that you want to teach is going to change. Years ago, I was teaching power yoga classes. People were coming in droves. They loved it. I got to a place of having that 7-year illness where power yoga was definitely not the thing. It was not helpful or useful for me at that time. And I really saw that the Ayurvedic approach to understanding asana pranayama meditation is crucial. And not just for people going through injury or illness, but it's crucial for everybody to have that opportunity to do a yoga practice that is truly healing, that is truly life-giving and supportive, not something that will create imbalance in the nervous system. And this takes a refinement in your understanding of yoga and the alchemy of the energetic exchange of the prana vayus and how energy moves in the body. This takes a maturity in understanding the subtle body anatomy of the nadis and the chakras and the energy system of the body to understand, well, what are these physical practices doing and how are they having an effect on the chakra system, on the endocrine system, on the nervous system. And until we know that and really get that at a deep level, we're not being of highest service to our students. We're not offering them practice that can take them to the next level of their health and well-being. We might be taking them through a nice physical asana practice, but I think what's super exciting is going even deeper in that and taking our students to the next level of understanding how these practices are affecting their nervous system, how they're affecting the more subtle body anatomy, because that in turn does affect the physical, absolutely. If you're wanting to learn more about Ayurveda, how you can incorporate it into your life and into your teaching, then today I'm offering you and inviting you to download my 7-module online program called The Complete Yogi. It's Ayurveda Essentials for Yoga Teachers. It is all online, so you can download the programs, the audios, listen to them at your own time, listen to them over and over again as you choose, and there's also handouts associated with that. So within the 7 modules, you're going to learn about the Prakruti, which is your constitution at conception, the Vikruti, your current state. You're going to learn about foods and how to eat from the Ayurvedic perspective, about dinacharya, and the experience of bringing the Ayurveda into your yoga practice, so the asana, pranayama, meditation. So it's a very comprehensive program, and it's also the part of my Madhuri Method Ayurvedic Yoga Teacher Training. So if you're interested in signing up for that teacher training, this online program is part of it. You have to go through that before we even meet in person. And I found that this is the best way for all of us to come together and have a base of foundation of information so that when we meet in person for the teacher training, we go really deep. And that's very exciting. We all come in from the same place. You're also going to receive a healing meditation that you can listen to as often as you like. And the frequencies on this meditation are up-leveling your vibrational energetic being and transforming your life in that way. As well as a secret yoga nidra practice, which is an amazing tool. 30 minutes of yoga nidra is the equivalent of about 4 hours of deep sleep. So this is all part of the Complete Yogi online program. It's regularly $347. When you register today, I'm going to take off $239. So the program is just $108. Nice auspicious number there. So $108, you get that program. It's yours for life. You can listen to it over and over again. You have until June 30th at midnight to sign up. And you can go into the shop page on my website, madhuriayurvedayoga.com. And in the shop page, you will see the Complete Yogi Ayurveda Essentials for yoga teachers. And use the coupon code LOVE when you register, and you will get your program for just $108 total. And if you're wanting to really dive deep and connect with me regarding the teacher training program, so it's if you're already a yoga teacher, then you can take the teacher training program. It's 65 hours. It's including the online portion of the program, and then we meet in person. So I've got this fall coming up a teacher training program in Vancouver and also one in Basel, Switzerland. So if either of those locations excite you, then contact me. And if you would like to sign up for the teacher training program, I'm going to completely gift you the online program. So you'll save $347. So this is a wonderful way, this program, to enhance your teaching career and also give you that niche market, give you that unique thing that makes you stand out as a yoga teacher when you can begin to teach from an Ayurvedic perspective. So when you sign up by July 15th for the teacher training program, you're going to be gifted this entire online program. So as I said, you'll be saving $347. And to sign up, you just need to fill out an application form, which I'll review, and put down a $300 deposit. So I'd love to just share with you a testimonial from a recent Madhuri Method Ayurvedic Yoga Training graduate, and then I'll open up the lines. If you have any questions, then you can type them into the side chat bar, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about any of the content that we've gone over today. If you have questions about the teacher training or the online program, you can ask me as well, or even if you just have comments or insights, feel free to write those into the side. So a student sent me this. She said, I'm deeply grateful for the gifts that Madhuri shared with me over the course of the Madhuri Method teacher training. Madhuri teaches from her heart, from her experience, with crystal clear clarity and deep integrity. She's the real deal. I believe that teaching and sharing wisdom is Madhuri's grace. On a personal level, through her teachings, my capacity to love expanded exponentially, and my relish for life has been reinvigorated. I've made new friends, and I feel so blessed to be connected to the community of practitioners that I share the training with. Madhuri purposefully keeps the intake small and open to teachers, which fosters trust, intimacy, and a rich learning environment. We laughed a lot. On a professional level, I've found the inspiration that I've been searching for in my teaching. Bringing the principles of Ayurveda into my classes makes perfect sense and feels seamless and easy because it works. I feel so confident in my teaching now because I realize that I simply need to teach from my heart and from my experience, using Ayurveda to guide and inspire my public classes. I'm very excited to grow my private classes too, something that felt daunting in the past. With Madhuri's knowledge and support, I know that I am offering my students a pathway to health, harmony, and self-understanding, and that feels so right to me. Thank you, Madhuri. You've enriched my life more than you can know. I found my way home. So I share that with you to give you a sense of the experiences that people are having from this training. It's not just training for your career, it's training for your life. We go into a lot of self-mastery pieces in the training, so it's about up-leveling your way of being in the world and expanding your capacity to love yourself and others as well. So that's really the deepest focus of the program. And at the same time, you're going to learn all about Ayurveda and yoga and how to bring these two beautiful art forms and sciences together. So if you have any questions or comments at all, please type them into the chat bar on the side, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you now. And I thank you all for being here on this day. And if you're listening to the recording also as well, thank you for taking the time. And last call if you have any questions. And if not, we'll bid you adieu. And I hope that you do have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. And feel free to contact me via email, madhuriayurvedayoga@gmail.com. If you want to touch base, any feedback or questions for me there, you can send that there. And you can find out both about the online program I was speaking about on the shop page of my website, and the Madhuri Method Yoga Teacher Training Program has its own page on my website as well. So thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope that you have found pieces of wisdom throughout this webinar that you can take back into your life and into your classes. And I look forward to seeing you in person. The technology is great on the webinar, but I really prefer the one-on-one connection too. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future. Thank you. Namaste.